धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवा मामका पाण्डवश्चैव अकुर्वत संजय. Dhritarashtra said, "O Sanjay, after assembling the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my son, the sons of Pandu, do, being desirous to fight?"
Purport. Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplined succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya as described in the Mahabharata form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken to the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharmakshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, "What did my sons and sons of Pandu do?" He was confident that both his sons and the sons of younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjay was a student of Vyasa and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjay was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so, Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belonged to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out. So, it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Shri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and others would be wiped out, and a thoroughly religious person headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words Dharmakshetri and Kurukshetri, apart from their historical and Vedic importance.
So what we will do, we will focus on certain things from the purport and we will not get into the purport. Can here wake up neglect the Acharya. Now what has happened is that battlefield situation we all know, everybody knows. And the first chapter gives the foundation for the Bhagavad Gita. It sets the whole scene. Therefore proper titles is this chapter, setting the scene. So Gita is so complete actually. It's not suddenly something starts. Who is speaking what to whom? There is no surprise. Everything is very clear what is happening. You don't have to dig inside Mahabharata. What is the situation now? what is needed to understand the scene, whole scene is set up. Now, here certain things Prabhupada has highlighted is that to study Bhagavad Gita, we should study it very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Shri Krishna. In fact, there is Gita Mahatmya. It's a very glorification of Gita written by Shankaracharya. There is glorification. And there is glorification of Gita also in the Padma Purana, where for every chapter of Gita, Gita Mahatmya written, two-way Gita Mahatmya. One way is that by Acharya written about the glories of Gita. There is in Science of Self-Realization. So and there is another one that is in Padma Purana for every chapter of Gita. What is the benefit if you read that? So two ways it is. I think it is Padma Purana. So here it says that we should study Gita very carefully with the help of a person who is a representative of Krishna. Devotee means he is representing the Lord. Devotee doesn't mean an unrepresented, he is representing what Krishna is saying. Same thing is repeating and also following in his own life. Then it is nice to hear. And without personally motivated interpretation. We should come like a just like as a teacher you go to a classroom and the blackboard is filled with hundreds of things. You have to first rub that and then you have to write. Yeah? If the blackboard is clean, it's very easy to write. Similarly, when we read Bhagavad Gita, we should know whom we are hearing. We are hearing the Supreme Lord. We should hear with the open slave. Not already, in my opinion, is just Namante, or become humble now, who is speaking, the Lord is speaking. Otherwise, why you are hearing it? You are hearing because you want guidance, but whose guidance is Gita giving? Gita is giving the highest guidance possible, the guidance of the Supreme Lord Himself. And it should be a great pleasure to hear the guidance of the Supreme Lord directly. It should be a great pleasure. Oh, some big expert comes in software engineering and he's speaking. And you want to learn software, you will hear every word. Some great medical man comes, he is speaking, great doctor, Nobel laureate, you will hear every word. Krishna is speaking, who is the king of all the doctors, who is the king of all the engineers, he is the supreme master. So we should hear very attentively, carefully, with the guidance of a, without the guidance of a devotee, somehow Krishna is such, you can't get it. You can't get it. Don't accept shelter or devotees, you can't get Krishna. He is handed over only by his devotees. So we are taking shelter of the great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and under his guidance we are trying to understand what the Gita. So this is very important. Without personally motivated interpretation, that should not be there. And then Prabhupada is talking about if somebody is fortunate to understand Gita in disciplined succession, he should be fortunate. Without motivated interpretation. There should be no, personally motivated interpretation. I don't try to twist or the meaning. Let the Gita speak for itself. There he surpasses all the studies of the Vedic history. If somebody does that, he surpasses all the studies of the Vedic history. That is the specific position of Bhagavad Gita. He is not ordinary. Many times people have an idea that Vedas are higher than Mahabharata and Mahabharata is part, Gita is part of Mahabharata. Nonsense. Fact is in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, rise above the Vedas. Trayaguniya Vishya Veda, Nistrayaguniya Bhavarjuna. Many people say that. And then another point by Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham. Don't be attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas. The standard of Gita is even higher than all the Vedic literatures. It's not ordinary. We should know what we are touching. Not just another. It's the topmost Vedic literature. Why? Because it is direct guidance of the Supreme Lord Himself. It's a very great. We should know the position of it. So 105 Prabhupada continues. And all the scriptures of the world, Bhagavad Gita surpasses all the scriptures of the world. He says, whatever you find in Gita, what is there in all of the scriptures? Just like some religions they talk about surrender to God. Muslims talk about surrender. Gita says Sarvadharman Parityaja. That is it. And then some people say we should love God. That is also there. Manavana Bhava. Buddhists talk about ahimsa. That is also there. Krishna says it's a divine principle. Whatever you want in any religion, example is given like a well in a river. Now suppose in a village there are many wells. They have water for different purposes. Some well you take bath, but you don't drink water from there because the well gets polluted. Correct? Other well we drink water. Correct? What is that? Bhinna well is there. So one well we take bath, one well we drink water because there is stagnant water. But a river, you can do everything. So Gita is like a river. Yeah, flowing water. It's flowing water. You can do everything in it. You can drink that water, you can bathe also like that. That is the position of Bhagavad Gita. So it says it has what is there in all of the scripture was you will find something which is not found. That's it. That is the position. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science. Actually, the word science is properly applied only to the Vedic literature. Today, unfortunately, we give the title of science, Vijnana, to material knowledge. But in Ishopanishad, it is not like that. It is said avidya. Vidya, all the colleges and all, they put Vidya. They have to remove the title. They can't. You can't. How they can use? Just like Prabhupada objected, Gandhi had the title Mahatma. Prabhupada said, no, he doesn't deserve the title. Mahatma is a very big title. You can't just take a title. No? True or not? They say, no, Vidya, and they'll write all the shlokas also. Some colleges, every college they write some slogan. And they try to derive some kind of a divinity from taking those words which are there in the Vedic literature. You can't do that. You should know what is Vidya first, before writing the center for Vidya. No? Temple, it is not a temple. Temple of knowledge, there is no knowledge only taught there. What temple it is? That's a very big thing. We can't ordinarily say. So actually, Bhagavad Gita is a real science. Why do you say so? Because this science really helps a living entity to go back to the shelter of the Lord. Perfect theistic science. It's very logical. Some people say it's all is beyond logic. Right? If Krishna comes and talks to you, he'll talk illogically or not? He'll talk logically. But we have to accept Krishna's logic and give up our logic. That's all. We have nonsense logic that we have to give up, and we have to come to a higher platform of Krishna's logic. Okay, it's a perfect theistic science. Because in the world people are very attracted to science. What you are saying, we can't even deserve the title of science. This is such a advanced. Actually, science word can only be used for Gita. It can't be used in other places. At least the Ishopanishad doesn't do that. It says avidya. Now, Dhritarashtra spoke this some introduction properly, saying, because he was very much worried, because the battlefield, now coming back to Shloka now, Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra. Dharma Kshetra is an adjective for Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is a place, even though it is existing. Samaveta Yusava. At that place, people are gathered together. For what purpose? Yusu. Yusava. Even now, in some part of the world, Yusu, used for fighting. That means, if you study the different languages of the world, you can understand Vedic culture is everywhere. There are different ways you can study. Because you find different part of the world, like man, comes in the word Manushya. How it can be so simple? Actually, if you study Vedic culture is everywhere. Now integrated, and then some words are remaining, and the language itself can help us study so much. So you use how the fighting begins in that way. Bhagavad Gita begins there. So Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, there is a place still existing and armies gathered. It's not an allegory. It's not a story. It's a fact. This happened. Samaveta Yusava. They came together for what? Fighting.
Mamakaha, who gave up fighting? Mamaka, he says, my sons. And Pandavas Chaiva, and even the sons of Pandu. Kim Apurvata Sanjaya. Sanjaya, what did they do? So Prabhupada gives in his lecture on this shloka, and nice comment. He says, you are doubtful what is going to happen. He was very worried. He wanted his sons to somehow, his younger brother took the rule. Why? Because he was blind. Dhritarashtra was blind, he was not made the king. Otherwise, he should have got the kingdom. He was the elder brother. Okay? But because he was blind, he was sidelined. So he was thinking, okay, I was sidelined, why my sons should be sidelined? They should do. They should. And they were 100 in number, Pandavas were only 5. And they had whole treasury and the whole army and big personalities like Bhishma, Drona, Karna. They will win the war. There's nothing to worry as if it's calculation. They will win. In 5 minutes the war will be over. He was thinking like that. Even his son was thinking like that. And then he was worried, such a holy place. Maybe my sons get influenced and they give a charity to the Pandavas. Okay, take. But neither his sons, the sons got never influenced. Rather, Arjuna got influenced. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita was born. So, somebody may say, I am going to holy place, it will affect me. No. Proportion to your devotion, it will affect you. You may go to a temple. Just like Prabhupada says, if you treat the deity like a stone, it will remain stone to your whole life. And if you look at the Lord, my Lord, here you are with devotion. Yes, Lord will not treat you. Depends upon your proportion. It's not blind faith. We are not putting faith blindly. We are putting faith based on the scripture. It is there. It's like we say you chant Hare Krishna, the Lord is there. No, you chant with that faith because scriptures are revealing. This is a revealed knowledge. It's not a knowledge developed by experiments. It's a revealed knowledge, guided by the Lord. So we chant by faith, yes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The sound vibration is not different from Krishna. It will reciprocate to you in that way. Actually, it is true. We are not putting blind because the Nama, Abhinatvam Nama Namina. There is a difference between Nama and the person of the Lord. Here in this word, there is a difference. Because the mango and the mango tree, there is a difference. It's another big sign. But there is no difference. Actually, a mind is a symbol generator. It makes symbols for everything. The mango, we immediately know. It's a symbol for a real mango. But when you chant mango, the name, the real mango will not come here. But the spiritual word, the Lord and His name, His vigraha, everything is same. There is a difference. So, but how do we access the divinity? Chant. Begin by chant. Okay. So influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably. They got affected, but actually nothing happened. In one sense, he was feeling maybe they will be blessed by the holy place because they are very pious souls. So many ways his mind was calculating. And then Prabhupada says one more meaning of the first shloka. He says, in this battlefield, Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, first we take the direct meaning of Bhagavad. He says, indirectly you know something is going to happen here. The father of religion, Kshetra also means a field. And there is a crop. When a farmer sees weeds in his farm, what he does, he picks the weeds and he throws them. Correct? And the real weeds. So Kuru was a great dynasty. Kuru was a great devotee of the Lord. And the word Kaurava actually refers to both Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra. It was Prabhupada wrong that he was disinherited with them by saying only sons as Kauravas. And he needs to never call sons of Pandu as Kauravas. But actually sons of Pandu are also Kauravas. Because Kuru is a great king in the history. Sanskrit is such a language, you can derive. If sons of Pandu are Pandava, the sons of Dhritarashtra should be called Dhartarashtras. They should not be called Kauravas. Kaurava title should be for both. Got it? For Kuru, both of them are actually Kaurava. Any descendant of Kuru become Kaurava. Just like from Pandu become Pandava. Sanskrit language is so subtle, you can derive that. Just like Arjuna, you say no, Partha Sarthi. Krishna is called Partha Sarthi. Arjuna is called Partha because his mother's one of the name is Pritha. So his name becomes Partha. You can derive in Sanskrit language. Anyway, that is one part. So he was saying that Krishna is present as the father of religion at the battlefield. And Dharmakshetra. He is present in the Dharmakshetra, field of religion. And in that field, Kshetra also refers to the field. In that field, unwanted plants are there, weeds like Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. In dynasty of Kuru, the religious field, now Krishna is present as the father of religion, like a farmer, and is going to remove all the weeds, like Duryodhana and the gang from that. Remove the weeds from that. Krishna is saying we can. Apart from the direct meaning, this meaning is also symbolized. Sanjaya said, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and began to speak the following words.
Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also ignorant of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was very sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pariahs since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. He wanted, therefore, to encourage a despondent king, and thus he warned him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as a king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite free to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas.
You know, Dhritarashtra and Krishna came for peace proposal. This is from the Mahabharata. When he came inside, he sat down in the palace. So many things happened actually. And Dhritarashtra finally, when Krishna was leaving, everybody requested Duryodhana to give up the plan for the war. And when Krishna was leaving after an unsuccessful attempt for a peaceful war, Dhritarashtra came running and he said, I'm unable to do anything. At that point, Krishna says, everybody, please mark this. He is a king and he says he can't do anything. There was a later instance when Uddhava came. Krishna said, Uddhava, once, this is much before. And Uddhava talked to everybody. This is there from the Bhagavatam. He talked to Kunti, and Kunti was crying that so many attempts they made to kill my children already. As a mother, she was in the tears. So when Uddhava heard that, directly went to the king, Dhritarashtra. He said, what is all this? Dhritarashtra said, I know Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but I am not able to stop myself. So we should not have the position of Dhritarashtra. Oh, I know this is what Krishna wants, but I can't follow Krishna. The Prabhupada says how to overcome the situation. Prabhupada says, yes, you should give up on laziness in following the Acharya. We cannot be under the influence of the three modes. Just like, suppose you are a very good doctor. You cannot be sick if you are following it. There is no question of being sick if you are following it. True, medicine system is not perfect today. Suppose it is a perfect medicine system. You can't be sick. Sometimes it happens. You're falling sick against it. Why don't you follow the doctor and be sick? Correct? The same way, when Acharya you are following, there is no question of three modes touching you. If they are touching you, that means you are lazy to follow the directions of the Acharya. You are lazy in that. That's all it is. And it is because of our laziness that we become incompetent to practice Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if you are alert to follow the direction of the Acharya, there is no question of three modes touching us. Correct? Got it? There is complete protection and you follow the Acharya. When you don't follow the Acharya, then it's okay. You are at your own risk. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, if you don't follow me, you are lost. Prabhupada also used to say, I can't give you protection if you don't follow what I say. There is protection if you follow. Maya will not touch you, like a Narayana Kavacha. Maya will not touch you. You can stay in beautiful consciousness. So, it is not that the process is incompetent. And Prabhupada says there is complete arrangement. Krishna is complete, his arrangements are complete. It's only my incompleteness, it's my laziness, it's my stubbornness. Just like kutte ki poonch. My stubbornness, and I don't want to follow the acharya. It's my mistake. You're stubborn, I will not. Okay, proceed. Do what you want. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, son of the world.
Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of the Dronacharya, the great Brahmana, commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for the military phalanx, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in a fight would lead to defeat.
Instead of you see any effect of the plays, any effect of seeing the elders, because for Duryodhana also many elders on the other side, Duryodhana was only making political calculations. And Arjuna saw the opposite side, immediately his tears came in his eyes. I have to fight with them, they are my elders. Duryodhana also had many elders on the opposite side, nothing happened. He was making political calculations. And you see what happened was, he saw son of Drupad, Drishtadyumna on the other side. And he knew the whole history. Drupad and Dronacharya somehow had some. They were actually at one time friends. Some quarrel they had, and finally it came to such a state that Drupad became so helpless that he got a yagna done. Previously there were brahmanas who could do that. You get a child to kill Dronacharya. And the child was Drishtadyumna. Draupadi is also the daughter of Drupad. So now Drishtadyumna, for various reasons, his sister was married to the Pandavas and all, took the side of Pandavas. Before that, he had come to Drupad, he had come to Dronacharya for learning the art of fighting. And Dronacharya knew this child is born just to kill. Still, he saw him competent, he said, okay, I teach you. Prabhupada said, look how liberal the Brahmanas are. Dronacharya was a Brahmana. Anyway, I have to die one day, but I will do my duty. It's my duty. If some competent person comes to learn, I will teach him. But at the same time, he didn't say, imagine his heart. It's not easy to have this kind of qualities. So Drishtadyumna, having learned from Dronacharya, actually Duryodhana is in now stage of shock. He had not expected such a beautiful arrangement. He knew something. He knew there are 7 Akshani, he had 11. He knew all those things. But to see such a nicely arranged, military formations, was shocked. So actually he panicked. Pandavas were small in number. Because they had faith in Krishna, they never panicked. They are practically half of the army. And they are no great fighters like Bhishma, Drona. But they never panicked. But Kauravas, even though larger in number, they saw them well arranged, they panicked. There is a difference. Here in this army, there are many heroic moments equal to fight for Bhima and Arjuna. And there is also great fighters like Yudhama, Virata, and Drupada.
Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, There were many others who were the cause of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path to victory because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna and thus he compared the others with him.
8:30 minutes. Nice cake. So this way is better. We don't jump over the Acharya's purport because it says we should understand Gita, the guidance of a devotee. Take the guidance of it. Yeah, this is very easy to understand. Duryodhana used to know the strength of Bhima and Arjuna from childhood. They have been with him. Therefore, he compared he said, like Bhima and Arjuna, there are many powerful warriors. Who are they not? There are also great heroic fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashi Raja, Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Shaibhebhino, Mahabharata, There are many mighty, there are mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamaoja, the son of Subhadra. Who is son of Subhadra here? Abhimanyu. And the sons of Draupadi. She had 5 sons. All of the warriors are great chariot fighters. O best of the Brahmanas, for your information, let me tell you about the captain, the specially qualified to lead my military force. That's perfect. He was a good administrator actually, Duryodhana. Good politician. But unfit to still rule. What is the reason? Not a devotee of the Lord. Because a king has to represent the law. It is not his property, it's God's property. Correct? Just like suppose you have a company, you put your representative there. Correct? He manages the company, but he's not your, doesn't fulfill your wishes for the purpose you have made the company, it doesn't fulfill. That is not correct. Duryodhana, even though he may be a good administrator, even though he may be everything fine, is unfit to rule because he is not a devotee of the Lord. That very single thing makes him disqualified of everything. And true, he has shown many bad qualities also. So now he tells about, first he measures the opposite side, the perfect administrator in a war. And then now he is comparing to his side. He is not sleeping. He is not, but he is not fit. There are personalities like yourself is talking to Dronacharya and it became a riddle for him whom to name first. So he said, okay, Bhishma will not mind because he is a Kshatriya, Dronacharya is a Brahmana. So he said, like yourself, everything is careful, yeah. Pakka politician. He's not Guru. Yourself, Bhishma, then Karna. Sequence is also important. Kripacharya, Ashwatthama. Kripacharya is also elder. Dronacharya's, I think, twin sister is married to him. So he came first. Then Ashwatthama also he has put. Then he has put the name of Vikarna. Actually, Vikarna is not fit to be here. Everybody is hearing. The very reason Vikarna is one of his brothers. He put the name of Vikarna was that he had objected when there was a Draupadi being, I am correct now, I am not making a mistake. When there was an attempt to disrobe the Draupadi, one of the brothers of Duryodhana had objected to the whole thing and said, what is this nonsense going on here? So he was worried because already one person had left the battlefield. Who was the person who jumped to the other side? No, one of the brothers of Duryodhana jumped to the other side. Vyusu. He jumped to the other side. Before the battle they said anybody wants to change the sides. So one of the brothers of Duryodhana, he went. So now he was worried that this fellow now also not started. So he tried to pacify. Oh, Vikarna is also there, the big warrior. He put in the same category like Karna, Kripacharya, Vikarna. Trying to Pakka politician. And the son of Somadeva called Bhurishra, who are always victorious in battle.
Duryodhana mentioned the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwatthama is the son of Dronacharya, and Samadatti or Bhurishrava is the son of the king of Bhalikas. Karna is the half brother of Arjuna as he was born in Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya married the twin sister of Dronacharya.
Everybody knows this. In India we don't have to tell. Other parts of the world we have to spend time. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are very well equipped with different kind of weapons and all are experienced in the military science.
far as others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kratavarma, Shalya, etc., all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it's already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of above-mentioned combined strength of his friends.
So Prabhupada was also given the title simple. He was simple. Now, lay down the lives of my enemy. Prabhupada said that's come out from his mouth. He said all of them are ready to lay down, and that's what is going to happen. All of them will die for him. Inauspicious, he came from his mouth. All of them have come to die for him. That's what is going to happen. See this, study this so nice. So word by word we are going through the meaning. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Where is the strength of the Pandavas carefully protected of Bhishma is limited.
Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained.
Okay, we understand this point. See, we know his mind is getting revealed. This Bhima, he was always envious of Bhima. He says, what? How we are protected by Bhishma, and they are protected by that, who is nothing. Basically. When you speak, what is in your mind comes out. So it's revealing his consciousness. Now you must all give full protection to grandfather Bhishma, standing at your respective strategic points in the phalanx of the army.
Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Deva was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man. So, everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes would not leave their strategic position and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Deva. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in a helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice, while she was being forced to strip naked in the presence of all great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that all such affection would now be completely given up by them and was customary during the gambling performances.
That's why they had the death penalty. To be inactive is also simple. Bhishma and Drona was silent when they should have raised their voice. Therefore they got death penalty. Somebody says, I don't do anything. Inactivity is also sometimes sinful. They should have stopped that as an elder in the family. No way there is any explanation for that. They got death penalty. Therefore, when Arjuna requests now, Arjuna says, Krishna, we can spare. Krishna says, no, kill them. Because they played with fire. Krishna will forgive. If you make offerings to Krishna, he will forgive you. But if you hurt his devotees, Krishna will not forgive you. The whole Bhagavad Gita is nothing but Krishna asking Arjuna asking Krishna, Krishna, can you forgive them? He knew Krishna is there, war is one. But can you forgive them? Okay, leave the war back. I don't want the kingdom. Krishna says, no, I want the war. Basically, Krishna wanted to punish them. So here, the politics is adjusting things. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, like the sound of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy.
The grandson of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana. And out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the side or on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pain would be spared in that connection.
So, the kind of quality of people are very different. To fight somehow, whatever he used to feel it is his duty to fight for the side. And he is hard work with the Pandava. Correct? This kind of quality of people that they do things out of duty is unimaginable today. Yeah? What strength of character. You can't find such people today. After that, the conch shells, bugles, trumpet, drums and horns were all suddenly sounded on the combined sound of stimulus. On the other side, poor Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells.
In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Deva, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there is no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Pandu Putranam, Desham Akshe Janardanaha. Victory is always with the persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without a husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shells of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariots on which both the friends were seated was donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. And this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds.
So, here the conch shells are thrown by one side, and now Krishna and Arjuna are replying. So their conch shells are called transcendental. It was not mentioned similarly. Then when Lord Krishna blew his conch shell Panchajanya, Arjuna blew his Devadatta, Bhima the voracious leader, perform a Herculean task, blew his terrific conch shells called Founder.
Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalities cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he gives the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashodanandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavana. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as a charioteer for his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditure for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrakodhara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks such as killing the demons, Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shells blown by the different personalities on the side of Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conches.
So here this point that Krishna is always guiding us, not only he is guiding Arjuna, Krishna is ready to guide everybody. Life is a battle actually, one says life is a battle for everybody. And Krishna as a Sahaja is ready to guide, all of us are ready to guide. Provided we got the guidance. To the degree we are surrendered to the Lord, he will guide. So sometimes what happens, if some thought comes, yeah, this has to be done. We become very attached, this thought has come to my mind. Nonsense. It may be illusion. At our stage, whatever thoughts we have to cross-check with the scriptures and acharyas. But a pure devotee, they are so pure, even the thought comes to their mind, it's perfect. They don't even have a wrong thought. That is pure. The whole mind is washed. So he is saying that Lord directly speaks to a pure devotee. The Lord's heart of all the living entity directs us. He is guiding us also. He is there in our heart for one purpose only, to guide us. Not there for any other purpose. Sitting us to guide us. Just like he was guiding Arjuna. He has come to every living entity to guide. See, Krishna can't be partial to Arjuna. All of us are children. But provided he wants to take his guidance. Like to us. So in terms of surrender of the living entity. And in case of pure devotee, he takes charge of the senses. Just like Arjuna's charity took charge. 5 senses are there, the 5 also. Krishna will take full charge. Then therefore pure devotees, their whole life becomes our whole life. With the same body I can become a pure devotee, provided I give up my lethargy, my laziness, my stubbornness, and I follow the Acharya. So Krishna will take charge. Fully everything is Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki.